The eagle doesn't become the king of the sky by flying with the flock. While thousands of birds fight for space below, the eagle rises above the storm, alone, focused, and fearless. It never wastes its energy chasing the crowd because it understands a truth that most people spend their entire lives trying to discover. Average lives are built by following others. Extraordinary lives are built by choosing your own direction. The world rewards people who fit in. Schools teach conformity. Society celebrates familiarity. Social media constantly pressures you to think, dress, act, and even dream like everyone else. Little by little, people stop asking themselves what they truly want. Instead, they begin asking one dangerous question: what is everyone else doing? And that's where countless dreams quietly disappear. Because every time you ignore your own calling just to fit in, you trade a piece of your future for a moment of acceptance. The eagle never makes that trade. It doesn't ask smaller birds where the wind is blowing. It doesn't waste time competing for crumbs. It doesn't panic when the flock changes direction. It trusts its own wings. That is what separates leaders from followers. Most people believe success comes from working harder than everyone else, but success often begins much earlier. It begins the moment you stop letting the crowd decide who you should become. Take a moment and look around. Millions of people wake up every morning already exhausted, not because their bodies are tired, but because they're carrying dreams that don't belong to them. They chase careers chosen by expectations. They buy things to impress people they barely know. They stay silent because they're afraid of criticism. They settle because comfort feels safer than uncertainty. From the outside, everything looks normal, but deep inside, something feels missing. A quiet voice keeps whispering, "You were made for more." Most people silence that voice. The eagle listens to it. That's why you rarely see an eagle flying in a flock. Its strength was never designed for the crowd. Its vision reaches farther. Its focus runs deeper. Its purpose demands higher ground. Nature has always understood something human beings often forget. The higher you fly, the fewer distractions you carry. Down below, the world is filled with noise. Opinions, arguments, comparison, approval, competition. Everyone is trying to be noticed. Everyone is trying to prove something. Everyone is reacting to everyone else, but thousands of feet above the chaos, there is silence, and in that silence, the eagle finds clarity. The same is true in life. If you spend every day reacting to opinions, trends, criticism, and comparison, you'll never have enough energy left to build your own future. The crowd has one powerful advantage. It makes you feel safe. When everyone is moving in the same direction, following them feels comfortable too. Don't have to think. You don't have to take risks. You don't have to stand alone. But comfort has a hidden price. It slowly steals your courage. It convinces you that average is enough and whispers, maybe next year. Maybe someone else can do it. Maybe your dream isn't realistic. One excuse becomes another. 1 year becomes 5. 5 years become a lifetime, and before you realize it, you've spent your life watching other people chase the future you once imagined for yourself. The eagle refuses to live that way. It understands something that separates extraordinary people from ordinary one's. Direction matters more than approval. The crowd may applaud you today and ignore you tomorrow, but purpose remains long after applause disappears. Every great entrepreneur, every elite athlete, every inventor, every visionary, at some point, they all walked a road that looked lonely. People questioned them, doubted them, laughed at them. Some even walked away, yet they kept moving, not because they enjoyed being alone, but because they knew that greatness is never built by waiting for permission. History has never been changed by people who blended in. It has always been changed by people brave enough to stand apart. The eagle never apologizes for flying higher. It never explains why it refuses to stay below the clouds. It simply keeps climbing higher, calmer, stronger, because it knows that storms don't last forever, but vision does. Maybe that's the lesson life has been trying to teach you all along. You were never created to spend your life chasing approval. You were created to chase purpose, and the moment you stop following the crowd, you finally begin discovering who you really are. Long before people lose their dreams, they lose their courage. No one is born afraid of standing alone. As children, we ask questions without fear. We dream without limits. We imagine impossible futures without worrying about what anyone else thinks. Then something changes. The world slowly teaches us that acceptance is more valuable than authenticity. We're rewarded for fitting in, praised for following instructions, warned not to be different. Without realizing it, we begin trading our identity for approval, and that trade becomes one of the most expensive decisions we'll ever make. The crowd doesn't control you with chains. It controls you with fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of criticism, the fear of failure, the fear of looking foolish. Most people don't give up because they lack talent. They give up because they're terrified of being judged. Think about how many incredible ideas have died before they were ever given a chance. Businesses that were never started, books that were never written, songs that were never recorded, dreams that were never spoken out loud. Not because they weren't good enough, but because someone imagined what other people might say. That's the invisible prison of the crowd. The eagle knows nothing about that prison. It doesn't ask permission to fly higher. It doesn't wait until every bird agrees with its direction. It trusts its instincts. Human beings often do the opposite. We wait. We hesitate. We overthink. We look for approval from people who have never lived the life we want. Then we wonder why we never reach the places we were meant to go. Here's the truth. The opinions of people who have never chased your dream should never become the blueprint for your future. Yet every single day, millions allow strangers to define their confidence. One negative comment outweighs 10 compliments. One failure erases years of progress. One setback convinces them to quit. But successful people see failure differently. They don't see it as proof that they're incapable. They see it as evidence that they're growing. An eagle doesn't fear the wind. It uses the wind. The very force that pushes other birds backward becomes the force that lifts the eagle even higher. Life works the same way. Criticism can crush you, or it can sharpen you. Failure can stop you, or it can teach you. Pain can make you bitter, or it can make you stronger. The choice has always been yours. Every challenge carries two voices. One says, "This is the end." The other whispers, "This is your beginning." Most people listen to the louder voice. Winners learn to trust the quieter one. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Feelings change. Commitment doesn't. The crowd waits until they feel inspired. Leaders take action even when inspiration is nowhere to be found. They understand that consistency beats intensity every single time. Imagine if an eagle only flew when the weather was perfect. It would never survive. Instead, it learns to fly through uncertainty. It learns to trust its wings instead of waiting for perfect conditions. Too many people are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect amount of money, the perfect amount of confidence. But perfection is an illusion. Action creates confidence. Movement creates momentum. Progress creates belief. The people you admire today didn't begin because they had everything figured out. They began because they refused to stay where they were. Every successful life starts with one decision: to move. Even while afraid. Especially while afraid. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that your purpose matters more than your fear. The crowd avoids discomfort. The eagle embraces it. That's why ordinary people spend years searching for shortcuts, while extraordinary people spend years building themselves. One chooses comfort. The other chooses growth. One follows opinions. The other follows vision. One spends life asking, "What if I fail?" The other asks, "What happens if I never try?" That single difference changes everything. The life you've been dreaming about isn't waiting on the other side of comfort. It's waiting on the other side of courage. And every step you take away from the crowd is one step closer to becoming the person you were born to be. The greatest difference between an eagle and every other bird isn't its strength. It isn't its size. It isn't even its wings. It's its vision. An eagle can lock onto a target from miles away and ignore everything that doesn't matter. While smaller, birds become distracted by every movement, every sound, and every opportunity. The eagle remains focused on one destination. That kind of focus isn't just a survival skill, it's a life philosophy, and it's becoming increasingly rare. We live in a world designed to steal attention. Every notification demands a response. Every trend begs you to follow. Every headline fights for your eyes. Every opinion competes for your mind. The average person doesn't lose because they lack ability. They lose because their attention is constantly being pulled in 100 different directions. Energy follows attention. And wherever your attention goes, your life eventually follows. Think about it. How many people wake up with big dreams but spend their entire day scrolling through someone else's success? Hours disappear. Days blur together. Weeks become months. Then one morning, they wonder why nothing has changed. The answer is simple. You can't build your future while constantly consuming someone else's. The eagle never wastes time watching other birds fly. It is too busy mastering its own flight. That's the mindset of high performers. They aren't obsessed with proving themselves to the world. They're obsessed with improving themselves every single day. While others compete for attention, they compete with yesterday's version of themselves, because real growth is invisible before it becomes obvious. The strongest roots grow underground. The tallest buildings spend months being built before anyone sees the finished skyline. A diamond forms under years of pressure before it ever shines. Nature has always rewarded patience. Yet most people quit because results don't arrive fast enough. They plant seeds, then dig them up every week to check if they're growing. Success doesn't work that way. Greatness is built quietly. One disciplined morning, one difficult decision, one extra hour of learning, one workout when no one is watching, one promise kept to yourself. Again, and again, and again. The crowd celebrates instant gratification. The eagle trusts delayed rewards. It understands that what lasts the longest usually takes the longest to build. Look at the people you admire. You see their victory. You rarely see their sacrifice. You notice the trophy. You don't see the thousands of mornings they wanted to quit. You admire the confidence. You don't see the years they spent doubting themselves. Success is never created in the spotlight. It's created in the silence. That's why the eagle spends more time preparing than performing when the moment finally arrives. It doesn't panic. It doesn't hesitate. It acts. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn. Every promise you keep to yourself adds another brick to the foundation of your confidence. Every excuse you make removes one. Over time, your habits decide which foundation becomes stronger. This is why discipline always beats motivation. Motivation makes you start. Discipline makes you unstoppable. There will be mornings when you don't feel inspired. Days when progress seems invisible. Moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. Those are the moments that define your future. Anyone can stay committed when life is easy. Champions stay committed when life gets difficult. The eagle doesn't stop flying because dark clouds appear. It knows the storm is temporary. Most birds try to escape the storm. The eagle rises above it. Think about that. The very obstacle that forces others downward becomes the reason the eagle climbs even higher. Life offers the same choice. You can allow challenges to become excuses, or you can turn them into fuel. Every setback teaches resilience. Every failure teaches wisdom. Every disappointment strengthens character. Nothing is wasted unless you refuse to learn from it. The people who change the world aren't the ones with perfect circumstances. They're the ones who refuse to let imperfect circumstances change their direction. Protect your focus. Guard your time. Choose your influences carefully. Not everyone deserves access to your dreams. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. And not every distraction deserves your attention. Remember this. The crowd is addicted to being busy. The eagle is committed to being effective. Those are two completely different lives. One spends every day reacting, the other spends every day creating. One waits for opportunities, the other prepares until opportunities have no choice but to appear, because at the highest level of success, focus becomes a superpower, and the people who learn to master it eventually become impossible to ignore. There comes a moment in every extraordinary life when the noise has to stop, not because the world suddenly becomes quiet, but because your purpose becomes louder. This is the moment that separates people who dream from people who achieve. Most people fear being alone. The eagle embraces it. Solitude isn't a weakness. It's where strength is built. The world often confuses loneliness with isolation, but they're not the same thing. Loneliness is feeling empty because you're missing people. Solitude is feeling full because you've found yourself. The greatest ideas in history weren't born in crowded rooms. They were born in moments of silence. When distractions disappeared, clarity arrived. That's why the eagle spends so much time alone. Not because it hates other birds, but because greatness requires space to think. Imagine trying to hear your own heartbeat in the middle of a concert. Impossible. That's exactly what happens when your life is filled with constant noise. Everyone has advice. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone thinks they know what's best for you. If you listen to every voice, you'll eventually lose your own. Successful people understand something the crowd rarely does. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people celebrate your potential. Others secretly fear it. Some encourage your growth. Others become uncomfortable the moment you start changing. Have you ever noticed what happens when you begin improving yourself? The people who were comfortable with the old version of you suddenly question the new one. They say you've changed. You're too ambitious, you're working too much, you're acting differently, they're right. You have changed. Growth always changes people. A seed doesn't apologize for becoming a tree. An eagle doesn't apologize for flying above the clouds. And you should. Never apologize for becoming the person you were created to be. Here's something most people never realize. The higher you climb, the smaller your circle naturally becomes. Not because you're pushing people away, but because fewer people are willing to make the climb. Everyone wants success. Few are willing to embrace the discipline that creates it. Everyone wants confidence. Few are willing to face the fears that build it. Everyone wants greatness. Few are willing to sacrifice comfort for it. The eagle understands this better than anyone. It never lowers its altitude just because other birds can't reach its height. Neither should you. Protect your peace. Protect your focus. Protect your standards. Every yes to the wrong person is often a no to your future. Every minute spent trying to please everyone is a minute stolen from becoming who you're meant to be. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is learning to become comfortable with your own company, because the moment you stop needing constant validation, you become impossible to control. People can manipulate your fears, they can manipulate your insecurities, but they cannot manipulate someone who already knows their worth. The eagle doesn't wake up wondering if other birds approve of its flight. It simply flies. Imagine how different your life would become if you did the same. Imagine creating without fear of criticism. Imagine speaking without fear of judgment. Imagine pursuing your goals without constantly checking whether everyone agrees. Freedom begins the moment approval stops becoming your addiction. There will be seasons when your phone is quiet, when your progress goes unnoticed. When no one applauds your effort, keep going. The tree doesn't stop growing because nobody is watching. The sun doesn't stop rising because no one thanks it. The eagle doesn't stop climbing because the sky is empty. Neither should you. Your greatest breakthroughs will happen in moments no one else sees. Behind closed doors, during sleepless nights, through sacrifices that never make headlines, that's how real success is built. Quietly, patiently, relentlessly. Because before the world can trust your vision, you have to trust it first. And once you do, you'll realize something extraordinary. Flying alone was never the punishment. It was the preparation. It was life teaching you to rely on purpose instead of popularity, to seek progress instead of praise, to chase excellence instead of acceptance. Because in the end, eagles don't become legendary by following the flock. They become legendary by having the courage to fly where others are too afraid to go. Here's what makes the eagle truly extraordinary. It doesn't become powerful because life is easy. It becomes powerful because it refuses to run when life gets hard. When dark clouds cover the sky, most birds immediately search for shelter. They hide beneath trees. They wait for the storm to pass. They hope better weather arrives before they move again. The eagle does something completely different. Instead of escaping the storm, it flies directly toward it. Because the eagle understands something that most people never will. The same storm that terrifies everyone else carries the wind that can lift it higher than ever before. Life works exactly the same way. The moments you try hardest to avoid, the failures, the heartbreak, the rejection, the disappointment, the sleepless nights, the seasons where nothing seems to go your way, those moments aren't always holding you back. Many times they're preparing you to rise. Think about every successful person you've ever admired. Behind every achievement is a story that almost no one talks about. The business that failed before the one that succeeded, the auditions that ended with rejection, the championships that came after devastating losses. The countless mornings when quitting seemed like the easiest option. People celebrate the victory. But victory is only the final chapter. Character is written long before anyone notices your success. Pressure creates strength. Pain creates wisdom. Failure creates resilience. The crowd sees obstacles as stop signs. The eagle sees them as stepping stones. That's why extraordinary people respond differently when life becomes difficult. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, they ask, "What is this teaching me?" That one shift in perspective changes everything. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every mistake becomes experience. Every disappointment becomes fuel, and little by little, the person who once doubted themselves becomes someone even hardship can't break. There is a reason diamonds are created under pressure. There is a reason steel is forged in fire. There is a reason the strongest trees survive the fiercest storms. Nature has never rewarded comfort. It rewards endurance. The same is true for your life. Every challenge is shaping the person you'll become tomorrow. The question is, will you let the pressure build you? Or break you? The answer has nothing to do with talent. It has everything to do with your mindset. The crowd quits when motivation disappears. Leaders continue because discipline has already taken its place. Discipline isn't exciting. It doesn't make headlines. No one applauds the mornings you wake up early. No one cheers when you choose growth over comfort. No one hands out trophies for staying consistent when life gets difficult. But those quiet decisions, repeated day after day, eventually create a life that everyone else calls overnight success. There are no overnight successes. There are only years of unseen discipline finally becoming visible. Remember this whenever life feels unfair. The mountain doesn't care how tired you are. The dream doesn't care how many excuses you have. Time doesn't slow down because you're afraid. Every day asks the same question. Will you move forward or will you stand still? The eagle already knows its answer. It keeps climbing, even when the wind is against it, even when the clouds hide the sun, even when no one else believes it can reach the top. Because true confidence isn't believing you'll never fail. It's knowing that failure will never be the end of your story. One day, people will look at your success and assume you were lucky. They'll never see the sacrifices, the lonely nights, the difficult choices, the moments you wanted to give up but didn't. They'll only see the eagle soaring above the clouds. They won't remember the storms that taught it how to fly. So when life becomes uncomfortable, don't run from it. Walk into it. Face it. Grow through it. Because every storm carries one hidden gift. It reveals who is merely interested and who is truly committed. And commitment is the language spoken by every eagle that has ever conquered the sky. One day, People will look at your life and wonder how you became so strong. They'll see your confidence, but they won't see the fear you conquered. They'll admire your success, but they'll never fully understand the sacrifices that made it possible. They'll notice how calm you remain under pressure, without realizing that pressure is exactly what shaped you. That's the way greatness has always worked. The world celebrates the result. Very few people respect the process. The eagle never wakes up trying to impress the sky. It simply becomes the kind of bird that belongs there. That is the lesson. Stop chasing applause. Start chasing excellence. Stop trying to prove yourself to everyone else. Start proving yourself to the person you were yesterday, because the only competition that truly matters is the one between who you are today and who you're capable of becoming tomorrow. There will always be people who doubt you. Some will tell you your goals are unrealistic. Some will laugh at your vision because they can't see what you see. Others will try to convince you to stay where it's comfortable, because your ambition reminds them of the risks they never took. Let them talk. The opinions of people who never had the courage to pursue their own dreams should never decide the direction of yours. Remember, an eagle doesn't stop flying because crows are making noise. It keeps climbing until the noise disappears. You can do the same. Rise above distractions. Rise above comparison. Rise above fear. Rise above excuses. Every day gives you two choices. You can remain where it's familiar, or you can step toward the life you've been imagining. One choice feels comfortable today. The other builds a future you'll be proud of forever. No one else can make that decision for you. Not your family, not your friends, not society, not your circumstances. Your future is shaped by the decisions you make when no one is watching. The books you choose to read, the habits you build, the promises you keep, the discipline you practice. Those small choices may seem insignificant today, but years from now, they will become the foundation of the life you're living. Never underestimate the power of one consistent decision repeated every single day. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through relentless commitment. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Keep going. There will be moments when the road feels lonely. Keep climbing. There will be times when failure knocks you down. Stand back up, because every step forward, no matter how small, separates you from the person you used to be. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll look back at the life you almost settled for. You'll remember the fear that once controlled you, the approval you once chased, the excuses you once believed, and you'll smile, because you finally chose to fly, not with the crowd, but above it. That is why eagles never follow the flock, not because they think they're better, but because they were created for a different altitude, and maybe so were you. So the next time life asks you to choose between comfort and growth, choose growth. The next time fear tells you to stay where it's safe, choose courage. The next time the crowd tells you to follow, choose your own direction, because the sky has never belonged to those who waited for permission. It has always belonged to those who had the courage to spread their wings. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Carry it into tomorrow. Carry it into every decision you make, and whenever the world pressures you to become like everyone else. Remember the eagle. It never asked for approval. It never waited for the perfect moment. It simply trusted its wings and kept rising. Lesson mais of the day. Your greatest strength will never come from fitting in with the crowd. It will come from having the courage to stand alone, stay disciplined, protect your vision, and keep moving forward when others choose comfort. The moment you stop chasing approval is the moment you start discovering your true potential. Like the eagle, rise above the noise, trust your purpose, and never be afraid to fly at an altitude that few are willing to reach. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who's ready to rise above the crowd. Until next time, keep your vision clear, keep your discipline strong, and never stop flying higher.